Welcome to CEDIA 2019. My name is Phil Jones. We are in the Sound United booth, and we're here to talk about something that everybody is curious about, voice control. And the thing I want to get across is voice is not designed to replace you. It is just a tool in your toolbox. So joining me is Chad Russell, again, from Josh.ai, as well as my partner in crime, Jeff Rogers, and we're from URC. So the first thing is, voice. It seems like voice is starting to take off. So Chad, why do you guys think voice, people are more and more asking about voice control?
Well, it's funny, in 2015, not a lot of people were asking about voice and weren't too engaged with it. But really what happened when Alexa came out and that product happened, the next thing that you know, it's CEDIA, boom. And that following CEDIA, it was a big deal, everyone's talking about it. So awareness, you're seeing over 250 million devices out there that are now voice assistant related. It's given a lot of awareness to it and everybody wants to be engaged with it.
And you always talk about your dad, Jeff. Can you tell that story?
Yeah, it's funny, being in the control industry for decades now, I always wanted to get my dad a nice simple system, and he's like, I'm not interested, I'm not interested. So my sister gets him, an Alexa Dot for his birthday, and he's into it, and he's like, I can do this, I can do that, I can control these things. I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been trying to expose you to for years, but it just kind of took a kind of a commercial or a simple residential thing to get him involved in it. But what's cool about it is now he's coming to me saying, well, it won't do this, it won't do that. How do I get it to do these things?
Exactly.
And so it took somebody who had no interest at all, who can afford it, into this.
Exactly. So there's two things. Voice, most of the time, is just a verbal button push. So
right.
Just like the universal remote control did not replace you because it can control 15 things, your voice isn't. I don't want to push 19 buttons. I don't want to make 19 commands. I don't want to open up 19 apps. That's what you guys are there for. I can open up the Lutron app for the lights, and I can open up the Nest app for the thermostat. I can open up the Denon app for the receiver. I can open up the Roku app for the Roku. I don't want to do that. I want to hit one button and have it all happen. I don't want to ask this and ask that and ask this and ask that and ask this and ask that. I want one command, and that's where you come in. It's just a verbal button push on top of everything. Now, the better the systems are, like Josh.ai is designed for CI, so it can do more than just one thing at a time, which we'll cover in a little bit. But also, if you talk about with URC, what other ways can you control stuff besides even the remote and the voice?
Well, we look at, like you were saying earlier, voice commands as a verbal button push, which is awesome because it's becoming very solid and effective today. But we're looking at other types of automation like geofencing, which is pretty cool. You just come home and things happen. You don't have to do anything. We're looking at NFC, a little NFC radio in your phone. You just put it down on a desk and it can do anything you want it to. So there's certainly, and of course, a regular button push or device events, sensors, there's all these other things. So we look at voice control as being one part of the solution. And it's been great because it's been really expanding our customer base quite a bit. And now with products like Josh, made for our industry, it's even pushing it further.
Exactly, and it's not what you ask as well as how you ask it. And that's kind of what separates you guys from most of the ones you can go down the street and buy, off the shelf. So explain what the difference is on how you deal with requests and things like that.
Sure, so what we really are is we're based on a natural language processing engine. And so you want to be able to walk in the room, you shouldn't have to have instructions and say specific commands. You want to be able to walk in, say something naturally. Okay, Josh, after the wake words, when we're going to hear it, and start listening, and then we're going to take the automatic speech recognition and go through to speech to text and make things happen. Now, you should be able to say anything. Turn on the lights. I'm cold. I'm really cold. And it's going to make those adjustments based on that. We also have something called Anaphora, which based on contextual awareness, it will go back and you can say it. So if you say, okay, Josh, turn on the lights, make it brighter, you can go back and we will be aware of the last command and be able to do things in a natural manner as opposed to being just those single button presses like you were referencing.
Exactly, because part of it is, we used to provide a bunch of tips last year, Jeff and I, about how to set it up. You used to have to ask the customer, what do you call that thing?
Right.
I call it a TV. I call it a television. I call it a monitor. And you'd have to program that into the control system, because if you did not call it a monitor or you did not call it a television, it would say, I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Right.
So now the goal is to make it natural. Sometimes you want to say it, sometimes you want to do a stream of stuff. But the goal is, you got to have control, and their pieces have to work with our pieces for that experience. The second it does not happen, the customer's out. I got a control system for my kid in the house because my wife and kids saw the big rack of gear. They would never touch it. It's intimidating. A bunch of buttons are intimidating. So I went on and I got a control system. Jeff hooked me up with a control system. And I programmed, and I've said, all you got to do is hit watch TV, or hit watch Netflix, and the curtains will drop, and the lights will come on, and the projector will switch on, and the amps are all click on. Perfect. I don't want to bother with that remote control. So I went and I got the app, and I said, all you have to do is pick up your phone, which is in your lap, or the iPad they are always carrying around. Hit the URC app and hit watch Netflix. I don't want to do that. So then I got a little voice-enabled device, and I said, hey, fill in the blank, because now I have that one, but I used to have the other one, and I would say, turn on Netflix, turn on Netflix on my projector, and it said, okay, and everything happened. And immediately the entire family started using it.
Right.
It makes it more approachable. We make these beautiful audio equipment, Denon and Marantz and Class A make this beautiful stuff. But the goal is to make comfortable for the entire family to use it. And all of us have to work well together. And in order for it to work seamlessly, you need both what's called device control and system control. So Jeff, why don't you kind of explain when we talk about what that is?
Sure. When we look at, say, a simple voice control system like Alexa voice service, it's somewhat limited in what it can do. It can only control certain things, whether it's through Z-Wave or whatever. So what you have is a solution that does a lot of cool things, but not everything. It only works within its own little subsystem. So I can say, put the bedroom lights on 20%, stuff like that. But what I can't do with it is say, turn on ESPN and have it turn on the AVR, turn on the monitor, set all the inputs, like what you were talking about. When we combine that with URC, URC can do all that. We can create any macro to launch automation and turn that into a voice command. And so we look at that as what we call a directive voice command, where it's not intelligent. It's basically, we say these words, this series of stuff happens. Then once you do that, you can use a smart skill to kind of dive deeper. So if you have a DirecTV box, you could say, hey Alexa, turn on the TV, and it automatically turns on the DirecTV box. And then you could use a DirecTV smart skill and say, show me all the action films with Bruce Willis. And that kind of takes over, so it's kind of a hybrid between those two. When you're using a system voice control like Josh, it even takes it one step further, where it's intelligent and it has a natural speech pattern, where you're not being so directive with that.
Exactly, because there's two things. If I say, turn on Netflix on my projector, that's a system. Everything clicks on. Amps click on, Marantz amps click on, Pre-Pro clicks on, Pre-Pro switches to the Roku, Roku turns on, screen drops, projector drops. Now what?
Right.
Now I have to be able to say, play Spider-Man on Netflix. If not, I still have to pick the remote control. Right? So you have to have system and you have to have device. Our receiver has to be able to do both of that. I have to be able to say, turn on Netflix on my projector, and that should be part of that system. But I should also be able to say, play Bob Dylan in the den, and it should be able to go find Bob Dylan and play Bob Dylan. If not, you have to have both. So that's why we work closely with both the control companies for Denon and Marantz and Class A, as well as the voice systems, to make sure that you have that full control, so you can offer that full, complete voice control experience.
And another thing to add, Phil, is a situation that can happen if you're using voice commands. People still love hard button remote controls for volume, channel surfing, stuff like that. Worst case scenario, you say, hey, turn on my TV and it does all that. Then you pick up the remote control and the remote control had no idea what happened, and then you have to press the TV button for it to catch up.
Yeah.
We track everything in the system, including the voice command, so when somebody picks up the remote control, it's already on cable. Everything's in sync.
Yeah, so if if you ask Josh to turn on the theater, when you pick up the remote says what input you're on and you're on the theater. So it just, all that stuff has to work well.
You have to track everything, yeah.
Exactly, and you guys, and Josh.ai is beyond the regular voice. So what else is different besides a regular Amazon Alexa or Google?
Sure. Well, one of the things that you want to think about when you're dealing with voice control is we are conventionally trained to think of, okay, you think of an end result that you want, that you're going to watch Spider-Man, for instance, but you're going to go and you're going to hit the button for the TV, it's going to go to Netflix, you're going to go through this and go through that process. What we're able to do with voice and with the proper products, we can run straight through and say, okay, Josh, watch Spider-Man. And it's going to go all the way through, know your permissions on Netflix, that you're signed in, and boom, and just start playing it in the room. So it's going to take that one step farther to kind of bypass a lot of those extra steps that you'd normally have to do. And so the capabilities for that are far-reaching, well beyond just in the consumer and in our residential world too.
Exactly. And if you think about it, a lot of voice control things, it's all IP based.
Yes.
And even and all of them now are starting to be able to do basic macros. Party mode, right? Fill in a blank, turn on party mode. It'll do basic stuff if the device is IP controllable. Your URC system will do IP control too, if it's IP controllable. The difference is the URC system will also control everything else that is not IP controllable. The client wants movie mode, and he doesn't care that the curtains are RS-232 and the screen is 12-volt trigger, and this is only works on IR. I said,
Let's pull it all in.
yeah. So your third-party control system acts like a translator.
Yes.
It can control anything that's IP controllable that may not be on their list, plus all the other things that are not IP controllable all can become part of the system, and the customer gets a very seamless experience. So until everything in the house is IP controllable, which is never going to happen, you're still going to always need a good third-party control system.
Now, I'll tell you, Phil, one of the things we love about working with Dead Under Marantz products with IP is we can query those devices and find out what's going on. So through our system, if you're at a certain volume level, we know that. It tells us, and our volume slider will be there, which is cool. Or if you're in a surround mode, we know what surround mode you're in, and we can trigger automation from that. So if somebody goes in the stereo, it tells the system, hey, this is in stereo, and we can dim the lights and kind of go into a 2-channel listening mode automatically,
Exactly.
which
and
is
also
cool.
little things like we try to share our APKs with both of you guys. So when you decide you want to open, if you don't want to open the Helios app, you can open the URC app or you can open the Josh app, and all of your zones are there and what's playing in all the zones and stuff. So you don't have to open. So when you go to Helios, you don't have to open our app to see. You can stay in one app. Clients want to stay in one app. They don't want to close one and open another.
Right.
You're right? So if you decide I'm going to use my voice and then I'm going to open a URC app or a Josh app, I want to stay in that app. I don't want to reduce that app and open the Helios app to see what's playing in this zone. They don't want to do that.
It's kind of funny. One of the things we do with the Helios product, because we communicate so well with it, you could have the customer say, is there any band that you don't like? And they're like, yeah, we hate Justin Bieber. We can go in there and say, if the word Bieber comes up in the title of anything, skip to the next song automatically. And it will automatically skip it.
Really?
Absolutely. And we can say, is there something you like? They're like, yeah, I'm really into Metallica. It's like, okay, when we query that and see Metallica come up, jack up the volume, So we can do that type of automation with your products because you guys think of us. We're not an afterthought.
Okay, so what were you going to say?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because we have we do that a little bit when we play around with our system. That you can say you can create triggers. So if someone says, "Okay, Josh, play Beyonce," you can make Josh go, how about something more aggressive and start playing something like Slipknot? And you can do some fun things and play around with it and do some cool things.
It's a lot of fun.
I like the Bieber thing. I need that.
A Bieber-free zone.
Bieber-free zone.
I need that.
The other thing
Sign me
we were
up.
talking about is sometimes voice may not be the best way to go. Turn more louder. No one wants to do that. You know, you can try set it to 50%, but sometimes you want more finite control. So you may want that tactile feeling of an app or a knob or a volume knob. And one of the things that's kind of neat about this is talk about the touch interface on there.
Sure. So after you make a command, if you say turn on the lights and such, what will happen is this will be yellow, and then this becomes capacitive touch, and you can go around and slide the volume up and down. So the other piece of that, I mean, this is our only piece of hardware. We're a software company, but then you also have a tap and double tap that you can mute and unmute as well, and that can be a default setting that you make it. Same with shades, and same with volume.
Sound. You can go up there and you can say turn play Bob Dylan in party mode. The whole house lights go down, the music's playing in like 16 zones. Now if you want to turn it down, you just walk up to the Josh and do this. The whole system goes down.
That's right.
The whole system goes up. I double tap, it goes away. Instant mute. So when the cops come, you go boop, boop, and it goes, right? So there's that type of stuff. The other thing too is it's wall mountable, which is kind of cool, and it's PoE. So you can put it on a wall, so it looks almost like a Nest thermostat, and you can do all that stuff. So there's some really cool CI-enabled features for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really versatile, and it's one of these things that when you look at, it's room aware, so you can walk into a room, and when you walk into that room and say, I want to listen to something, it's only in that room. You can make other commands everywhere else, but with some other products out there, you have to say specifically what room you want to do it, even though you're in that room. So that's a very nice functionality aspect of the product too.
So like I said, we have to work with all voice control systems. Whether so Denon Marantz, Cyanide products have to be able to work with all voice control systems. But there are systems that are capable, that are more CI focused, and we have to make sure we work with those as well, just like we have to work with all of the third-party control systems, like our buddies over here at URC.
Absolutely.
So what are some other things you want to talk about?
I'd like to talk about kind of the industry a little bit and what voice control is doing.
Okay.
One of the things, if you're running to customers that already have an existing simple system, like an Alexa or something like that, find out what they like about it. Ask them, hey, what do you really love about this thing? And get a mental list going, and then say, what don't you like about it? If you could change something, what would it be? And then you can kind of think of solutions. If they're like, well, I hate that I have to give several commands to get something done, you're like, okay, something like Josh.ai would fit that bill. Or they're like, I want to control this other stuff. I'm just tied down to thermostats and lights. I want to control my my audio system, my video system, or whatever. Okay, you can just tag that into a simple URC total control system that's pretty easy to program and give them that flexibility. It's just important to look at it as it's not a dead end. This is a beginning. They're creating the next generation of control users for us.
Exactly.
And you have to look at it that way. Don't say, they're just sucking up the low end and there's nothing left for us. They're creating the next generation for us.
Exactly. Just like you used to walk into the house and you'd see the 9 remote controls, say, I can get rid of that.
Yeah.
I can make it 1. So then you say, let me see your phone. It's got 19 apps on it. I can get rid of that.
Yep.
I can make it 1. And then you go, I notice you got a Nest thermostat. I know you got the Hue lights. I know you got this. How many things do you have to ask? What if I can make it 1 thing?
That's right.
It's the same thing. You're paying me to make the experience easier and more seamless, plus provide reliability. So going with a custom integration focused voice control system means I can give you a level of reliability that I just can't get you if you go down to some place and buy a little hockey puck for 30 or 40 bucks.
Yeah, I mean, we're completely CI focused. What we're trying to give you is another avenue also to make money and bring revenue into your company. So obviously what we are is we're a software company, so there's licensing fees based on room control and how many. It's not so much that this device is a $600 retail device. It's more about going into the licensing aspects and building that. Voice is going to change the industry, but we obviously need other control. We need to be able to do relays. We need to know status of things that are not IP enabled.
Yeah.
And you're really seeing a big modification and consumer awareness to voice enabled products.
Limited distribution, not sold at retail. So you don't have to worry about, oh my God, if I sell voice, they're gonna go down to the street and buy another one. It doesn't really work like that. So you can take it and just make it a more profitable experience. The whole goal is, I always say, is to make it Jarvis. We've all seen Iron Man, and you walk in the house, good morning, what's the weather, start my car, turn off the lights, set this. We are like this close to getting there now. If you combine a really good control system, a really good third-party control system, a really good voice control system, and they're paying you to be creative and figure out things that they haven't thought about before, and it's getting closer and closer to Jarvis.
And you think of like when the iPod first came out, that gave us a generation that was interested in music again.
Yes.
And now look what's happening with music. 2-channel audio's blowing up, vinyl sales are blowing up, but it started with that simple device getting people interested in music. They have simple devices that are getting people into control.
Exactly.
And that's going to grow into them wanting better solutions in the
Exactly.
future.
Once they're exposed, the goal is to show them there's something better.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. So now what else are we going to talk about?
Let's talk about the AI part and the learning of Josh. Tim and Alex, if they can have their way, what it's eventually going to happen, the system will end up knowing when you go into the gym, and if you say listen to music in the gym, it's going to know that you probably want something upbeat and that you want something that's fast in the gym. And when you see all of these pieces of the puzzle come together later, it will be more and more like a Jarvis. It's going to keep evolving every single day. And we want it to get to that point. And so we're starting to get that traction. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So the big thing is not just about the hardware. It's about the creativity of the manufacturer and the creativity of the installer.
It's about AI and not just voice.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's about the AI part of it as well.
It's like, so when you really look at it, it's a piece of the puzzle is content curation. Because really the way we're interfacing with content today is very different than it was before. We used to come home, turn on the TV, it'd be the news, it'd go through the news, it'd go to Wheel of Fortune, it'd go to Jeopardy, and next thing you know, you're watching Who's the Boss, all this other stuff, right? Now, you're going to different content and you're going through it through different mediums. And so eventually we would like to learn that and make that happen so it just kind of happens automatically. And there's a lot of possibilities there. You can just kind of open up Pandora's box, and it's an exciting category, exciting time in the industry.
Exactly, because we always talk about the best way to sell a big system is to talk about goals, not needs. I need to control I want to control my lights or whatever with the voice control is kind of a need. A goal is like I want to use my voice to control my house, or I want to use my voice so anybody in my family can control my system. The second you start talking about goals, there's no such thing as a one-item solution. You told me you want this goal. You need a good voice control system. You need proper components. You need a robust Wi-Fi network. You need a good control system. If you want for me to achieve your goal, I need more than that. You may have some of this stuff already, but let me make sure that I give you all the rest of the pieces you need to achieve that goal. So if you're talking about goals, what picture your life? How would you picture your day when you wake up in the morning? What do you want this thing to do? And then if you talk that way, then it makes it a lot easier to get them to that. Well, if you want that goal, you need this. I can't raise and lower the curtains if they're not controllable.
And people don't know what to ask for because they don't know what the capabilities are.
Yep.
They just know their own little world and what they've seen. And so by creating desires and asking them about those things, it really plays.
What's your desire? What's your goal? What would be the perfect way to wake up in the morning? I'd love to have the music start and the curtains raised because I'm the kind of guy I don't like blackout. I like blackout curtains to go to bed, but I like natural light to wake me up. You can set the system for it to be blackout curtains when you go to bed, and at around 5 o'clock in the morning, the curtains go up, so you wake up to natural light.
Right. There is a scene capability within all of that you can set that up that even end users have access to through the app. So you can do that, and all that stuff is really fun to give them access and feasibility.
Exactly. And the more questions you do like that, it shows you care. Shows you're paying attention, and it separates you from the guy down the street. This team sat here and really talked about me and what I need and what my lifestyle is and how my family lives its life. they love, I want good music in this room, okay, let's do a hi-fi based, Denon and Marantz system in this room, okay, let's do some in-walls in that room, let's do some speakers over here, you want to be able to control all that stuff, we're going to put a Josh over here, we're going to put a Josh over there, of course you've got a bunch of other stuff, I got to make sure everything else is controllable,
right.
So let's add our URC piece. Oh, like you were talking, the little NFC chip. You can come home at night, you don't want to wake the family up by even asking something, URC thing on your phone.
Put your phone down.
Put the phone on the nightstand, the whole house turns off. So there's a lot of things you can do, and based on what do you want and how do you want to live your life, and I can get you there because that's why you come to me.
And it's easier than ever to program.
And it's easier than ever.
You don't have to have a full-time programmer on staff,
Yes, and that's what we're trying to work on, is being partners.
Awesome.
So anything else we want to talk about?
That's all I got, brother.
Okay, so number one, last to conclude, voice is not the devil. It's just a verbal button push. The universal remote control did not replace you, and the app did not replace you. So voice, use it as another tool to give your customer a better experience. So Chad and Jeff, thank you very much for your time, and I hope the rest of you guys have a great show. Oh, by the way, before we stop, please come by if you have the opportunity. The Sound United booth is 3108, and we have a lot of our Denon and Marantz offerings in here, as well as some new products from Polk, as well as Definitive Technology. And you are where's Josh located, Chad?
Booth 4319.
4319.
We're giving booth demos, and
We're right
they're
there.
pretty cool.
We're right there.
These guys are right there.
And talk about how close we are. URC is one
We're
wall
right
over.
there.
And what's your booth number? He probably doesn't even know.
I can't even remember. It's all a blur.
That means all you URC people, come by our booth first, and then we'll point you to where the Universal Remote Control booth is. So thank you very much for your time, and we will talk to you soon.